24/7. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And for the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. And that's just a sampling. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. For laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, download the Roku app. National Streaming Sports, live and on demand, sports talk for America.
This show is brought to you by BetUS.com. 125% off your first 3 deposits, 30 years experience, secure site, wagering for all sports, including during the games and futures. SeatGeek provides you the best prices on sports and music events, game tickets, and concerts. Use NSS promo code to get $20 off your first ticket. Keep using the NSS promo code when purchasing tickets for great deals in the future. In Fanatics at nessp.info for your favorite teams, sportswear. Click on the link, and while you're there, check out our national streaming sports merchandise.
Nobody to get them the ball, man.
It really is. I said before the season, and Jack and Mac laughed at me, I said the high water mark of the McDaniel-Tua era was losing in Kansas City last year. That will look like the good old days because at least they made it to the playoffs. Okay? They had a chance to win their division last year. They were up 28-14 versus the Titans with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left, and they lost by a point. And that made them – and so they went from the 2nd seed to the 6th seed. Instead of having a home playoff game, they had to go to Kansas City in a blizzard.
Yeah.
That's just the Dolphins.
Yeah, yeah. Well, a little NFL news. We still got. That was Frank Laterzo, a lifelong Miami Dolphin fan, giving us his perspective on the Dolphins. And James, that was very tame for Frank, because Frank normally goes off a lot more about the Miami Dolphins than he did there. Of course, if you remember last week in the beginning of the show, he was going crazy, and I said, listen, we got to talk about the games first. Let's talk about the games before we get into Dolphins and everything that he wanted to talk about. So right now, in one of the late games, Kansas City is beating San Francisco 21-12. Now, San Francisco had the ball like on a 10-yard line, and it was like 3rd down. I don't know what happened. I moved my eyes for a minute, and now Kansas City has the ball again with 6:28 left. They're 1st and 10 at the Chief, around the Chief 40, 45-yard line. So real sloppy game so far. There are a lot of turnovers, some injuries, James, to the San Francisco wide receivers today.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk went down with an awkward knee injury, and Deebo Samuels went out prior to him. And so, I mean, this has been their story all year. They're really having the injury bug, as with many teams are having. But they still have an opportunity, as you can see. They were down at the 10-yard line. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was a turnover on downs or a fumble or interception. Not sure. But yeah, they still have an opportunity to win the game or get back into the game. It's still pretty close. It's been a sloppy game collectively.
It has been. Right now, 21-12. The other game's still going on. There's only 151 left in the game right now. The Rams are up 20-15. They have the ball right now. They're at the LA 48, whichever LA it is. I guess it's the Rams. But anyway, 151 left, 20-15, and we'll give you more updates as we go along. But let's get to the game this morning, James. Lawrence goes 15-20 for 193 yards and a touchdown. Tank Bigsby, we talked about it before we went on. 26 carries, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. It just looked like the Patriots played well maybe for the first 2 drives. And then after that, the Jags just took over. They showed pictures of the owner of the Jags in the skybox. He was disgusted, because the Patriots were up early, but the Jags come roaring back.
Yeah, the Patriots were up 10-0, and so I can imagine that this is not what you want to do. You do not want to lose to one of the worst teams. Well, honestly, you're one of the worst teams. If you're a Jacksonville Jaguar, you understand we're not good. Maybe we're supposed to be a little bit better than what our record is, and we're not playing up to par. So I can understand why the owner would be just hot. And so this was the game. If you lose this game, it's possible that Doug Peterson doesn't keep his job.
It was possible. You just look at the Jags, and the Jags on the outside, not counting what's been going on this year with the fumbles and the turnovers and the penalties. I mean, if you look at them on paper, they look like they're a playoff team, and that's the biggest surprise about them, right? Because we all thought that the Jags and the Texans would probably be going at it for first place in wild card, and it just hasn't turned that way out for the Jags. Do you think they can mount a big comeback and get back in this playoff race?
It's possible, Mac. It's very possible, but it all starts with the quarterback. This is not like a team that's been bitten, like the Saints has been bitten by injury bug, or the Giants. You got a lot of injuries, and but some things you just can't overcome. You got all your players there. So your question is, what's wrong with this team? And again, it starts with that guy that you just paid and made him your franchise quarterback and your head coach. You got to figure out what's going on with him. Why can't he just get the ball down the field? You got a new weapon, and you saw. They showed some bright moments with the ball when he threw it. Brian Thomas Jr. Out of LSU, he threw a beautiful deep bomb to him. It was right on time. But then sometimes you're looking at him like you're scratching your head. What is he doing? Yeah. So I think it's just a matter of getting them back in order on offense, and it looks like it's starting with their running back. They're giving more carries to Tank Bigsby. If you can get a good season out of him, I think they may have an opportunity to get some play action going and allowing these receivers to make some plays down the field.
I don't think I've seen a year in a long time, since maybe the early 90s, James, when the running game has become so important to the offense. I mean, they're not just going back down there now and just chucking the ball over the field like they were last year and the year before. They make a consolidated effort to run the ball, and that's opening it up for the different quarterbacks that aren't as agile, say, as someone's like a Jaden Daniels, right? Where they can run the ball, they get the running game established, and then all things open up for them. And this is good old-fashioned football.
Well, when you mentioned Jaden Daniels, I mean, I do think he's an accurate quarterback, but I will say that having a guy like Brian Robinson Jr. is a plus, a bonus in your back pocket, and Austin Eckler, not only a running back out of the backfield, he's a receiver out of the backfield as well. So They're doing really, yes, a lot of these teams are just looking like, hey, let's get back to old school, grinded out football, and let's make sure we can, manage the clock, control that clock, and get the quarterback some play action. A lot of these zone read games or wide zone offenses are starting to make some comebacks here, and you're starting to see that in a lot of teams.
Yeah, a lot of jet sweeps, just like right now as the Chiefs score again on a jet sweep. I think it's McCall Hardman. He takes a jet sweep. He goes for a touchdown. Is there a penalty? I don't know. There's a flag, so maybe it's getting called back. But just like that, they have the receiver coming on a reverse. This is a receiver reverse. They call it a jet sweep. That's changed from when I was younger. But anyway, it looks like they got to score unless there's a flag. We'll see what happens here. If there's no flag, the Chiefs are up now 27-12. So the Chiefs are starting to run away with the game right now. And we'll see what happens. Both coaches are throwing their hands up. There's a little pushing going, fighting. There you go. All right, real smart. Anyway, Seattle Seahawks. I can't figure them out, right? We kind of fooled around before the show goes on, and our partner on the Big Football Show, Jack Hirsch, has certain ideas about certain quarterbacks and how they should play quarterbacks. And he never gives Geno Smith any credit. Even though he's their leading passer in the league right now, yardage-wise, he's okay. He's this, he's that. And he'll say something great about something else we'll get to later. Point being, Geno Smith comes out, throws for 207 yards, 2 touchdowns. Walker has a touchdown. Metcalf finally starts catching the ball a little bit, 99 yards and a touchdown. And on the reverse side, Cousins, I don't know what's up with Cousins. One game he looks like he can bring back, a team from nowhere, and other times it just looks like he's a problem with the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, Mac. I'm just gonna go in a situation here when we talk about Kirk Cousins. You just look at his past. Typically, this is not what you see from Kirk Cousins. During the regular season, you see a guy that's just efficient, gives you on average, 3,500, 4,000 yards a game, 25 TDs, maybe 8 interceptions. He just doesn't seem to be that this year. He seems very streaky, I would say. I mean, one game he throws for 500 yards against Tampa Bay and win in overtime in a thriller. And then today he just lays an egg, man. And he, fumbles the ball and throws a couple of interceptions, and he looks older. He looks like he's coming off an injury that an old guy that's coming off an injury that hasn't healed properly. So I just don't know what to expect. I had the Atlanta Falcons win this game, and they get blowed out 34-14. So the NFC South is up in the air. I mean, maybe Tampa Bay is the clear-cut division leader. Well, they are now at this point. And right. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I can't figure out Seattle, and they're hurt too. They got hurt defensive linebackers, and here they come up and they just take it to Atlanta. And James, you're not the only one who had this wrong. I mean, I bet there were some of those pools where you make one pick on a team and you're out for the season. I bet there were a lot of people that jumped on Atlanta over Seattle today, if not a couple of teams we'll talk about. Tennessee and Buffalo. Tennessee in the beginning, they look pretty good. I mean, they were kind of doing something. But you got Josh Allen, who's on the other side, and he's throwing 323 yards. He might start slow. He throws for a couple touchdowns. He's got he's got his new wide receiver. He throws a touchdown to Coleman with a big game, not a touchdown, but a lot of yards. And who was the Tennessee Titans quarterback today, James?
It was Mason Rudolph. It wasn't Will Levis. But was he any better? Well, let me say this. They started out the gate 10-0. I mean, they were 10 up 10-0, and Mason Rudolph was a big part of that. He gave him a spark, but then all of a sudden, two back-to-back fumbles, and I mean, quarterback center exchange was bad, and then of course the blindside sack, and then Buffalo. You don't give a team like Buffalo these opportunities. I mean, right now Josh Allen looks to be in MVP caliber form. He's got his wide receiver. He got another guy that's his potential number one, Amari Cooper now. And then Keon Coleman is showing that he can break away tackles and get you extra yards after the catch. They just look dominant. They were the better team on the field today.
I mean, and our buddy Jack Hirsch again, this is a quarterback that he says, well, he never got a chance. Well, Jack, there's a reason why he never got a chance. I mean, he's a backup quarterback, and Geno Smith is a pretty darn good quarterback. And he also wants to do the relief quarterbacks too. We'll find out how that works out soon. We're going to have quarterbacks replacing each other in certain situations. But anyway, listen, there are quarterbacks out there. Now, Levis is not a starting quarterback right now. I don't know if he ever will be. I never really liked him coming out anyway. He's too inaccurate. And Mason Rudolph is a backup quarterback. So basically, on the Titans, you have 3 backup quarterbacks right now, and you're not going to win doing that.
Let me say this. When you start from Pee-wee football all the way up the pyramid, all the way to the NFL, cream rises to the top. And eventually, if Will Levis was, if I, let's just say, played a pickup game against this guy, he probably would light me up because all of these guys are great at some point, but at some point, everybody has their peak. And, even the best bench players or practice squad guys were really good at some point in school or at some level in football. But Will Levis is not an NFL quarterback. Mason Rudolph is probably best suited like you said, as a backup. Yeah. Tennessee has to go back to the drawing board and draft themselves a quarterback.
And James, I mean, listen, we're making fun of these quarterbacks. These quarterbacks are some of the greatest, they're the best quarterbacks in the country. Don't get me wrong. But they're playing against people that are as great, if not greater than them. That's the problem, right? And you don't have to be super talented. We know that. You can just be a hard worker and make it in the NFL. Even as a quarterback, you don't have to be the best athlete and be one of the greatest of all time. There's too many guys I can go into mention that as being a quarterback. But there's something about an NFL quarterback that has it, right? And I don't know how to describe it because it's very hard to describe. They're a leader. They can carry their team. They make plays when they got to make plays. They work harder than everybody else. And it's just something about certain quarterbacks that make them the best of the best. And right now, Tennessee sure doesn't have one of those in their pocket right now. So again, as you said, Tennessee loses to Buffalo 34-10. Cincinnati, we saw Watson getting take off the field. It looks like an Achilles rupture. He didn't get hurt. It just looked like it snapped. I don't know what else to say about Deshaun Watson except he should be done. The guy should be done. He's either injured or he's sure not playing the way he played a long time ago. Too many things weighing him down. We've talked about it ad nauseum. I mean, it seems like every week we say the same thing about Deshaun Watson. And he's just not there anymore. He's not a quarterback in the NFL. And I don't care if he's injured or not. Even when he's not injured, he's not a leader and a guy that can take a team on his back and bring them to a deep run in the playoffs right now. As we discussed, the second string quarterback went in there. He didn't have much luck. They finally put in James Winston in there. He throws a touchdown. Cleveland scores a touchdown with Chubbs. And it was a game. I mean, it's 21-14. It's a division game. And normally these games are tough. At least the defenses get up to play for this game. And, it's, as I said earlier, it's for Ohio. And they did okay. And Burrows didn't play great. He had a decent game and threw for a couple of touchdowns, but his numbers weren't that good either. I mean, he threw for 181 yards, James. Is there something wrong with Joe Burrow?
No, I mean, we seem to forget that Cleveland's defense is still really pretty good. I just think the offense don't really give him any help. They didn't give him help the whole season. And I mean, we talked about Deshaun Watson. He hadn't even thrown over 200 to 200 yards yet, not one game. And he looked like he was on par to do so this game. And of course, if he didn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any. It was just, it's just pretty bad. I mean, that just sums up his whole season. It's just the icing on the cake, unfortunately, that just to have an injury like that and just end this season, it probably just took him. I mean, it seems like, I don't know. I don't want to push a man while he's down, but it's going to give Cleveland an opportunity, I think, to see what Jameis Winston can do and see if he can right the ship with them. I'm a huge Jameis Winston fan, but I mean, I'm not optimistic in regards to this particular organization and this team, making a turnaround. We'll see how that goes. But unfortunate injury. I think Joe Burrow, they get the win they needed, and I think they continue to right their ship in regards to their offense. I don't think their defense is that great. They played a pretty anemic offense, so maybe they look better this game versus a bad offense versus how they normally regularly look. They haven't looked all that good at all season. So we'll see how they. Again,
a big key we talked about before was Joe Mixon leaving, right? They really don't have that running back that's going to get you 100, 120 yards a game. And that, I don't care what anybody says, it affects you as far as on your total offense. So the Rams and the Raiders game is over 20-15. The Rams end up winning. Gardner Minshew has 3 interceptions, gets pulled from the game. They put in Aiden O'Connell. He throws for a whopping 52 yards. We talked about this too, James, and I think we got our finger on the pulse of this stuff because you can tell what's going on with the Raiders right now. Devontae Adams, I think, was a bad thing with the Raiders. I think he kind of poisoned the water a little bit. Max Crosby now wants out. Antonio Pierce is kind of losing the locker room. We said this would probably happen, and it's happening now more than ever. I mean, Stafford didn't have a good game. He only threw for 154 yards and a touchdown. Kayvon Williams, big game, 76 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's the only thing that really saved their butts today. So a boring game, but the Raiders are in a lot of trouble right now.
The Raiders have always been in a lot of trouble. I mean, we can go back as far. We were talking about some of these coaches. I mean, some of the crazy moves went out. Rest in peace, Al Davis. But when he's made some of the craziest moves in regards to coaches, players, I mean, he was always a guy to go to do some things that nobody would do. He would get draft the fastest wide receiver, or draft a track guy, or bring in a track guy, that kind of thing, But it's just they took a lot of risk, and I've heard things like Marcus Allen talking about how he was treated. So, I mean, I'm not surprised at how things are going now. I'm just not surprised. And Devontae Adams, he might have divided the locker room, but all this to me starts at the top. It starts at the top. If you don't get a handle on this kind of stuff, get your guys under control. This is what happens. I mean, look back when the Eagles had a really good team in the early 2000s, and T.O. was there. Man, we talk about a divided locker room. It just happened, and they had talent. This team doesn't really have that much talent, so it's just a matter of making sure you have stability and continuity with leadership. And I just think everything falls on the leadership. And a great point too. And we talked about leaders on the field too, not just the GM, not just the head coach. Who's the leaders on the field? And the good teams have good leaders, and that's why they win. Houston goes up against Green Bay in Green Bay. Jordan Love throws for 220 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Mixon had a nice game for Houston. He ran for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns. But Stroud had a really bad game. It's kind of crazy. Stroud normally doesn't have this bad of a game. I know he has one wide receiver out, but he has a lot of weapons over there. And it just looks like the Green Bay defense, again, is underrated. I mean, you're going to give up 112. I would rather give up 115 yards to Mixon than 300 and something yards to Stroud any day of the week, right? Because it'll take a little longer for him to get down the field at least. They come back. Green Bay wins. Good game. Very good game. But Green Bay now goes and they only have 1 loss also. They're up tied for first place right now, James. Yeah. Green Bay, hats off to them. They won the game. A very close one. At one point, Houston had the lead. And then Green Bay comes back and scored a 45-yard field goal. But I think I'm wondering if Houston is really missing Nico Collins. This is a guy that was, pretty dominant as a wide receiver, and he was leading in receiving yards till he went out. They got other receivers there, and I think they have a collection of receivers, but I'm not a fan of Stephon Diggs right now at this point of his career. I think
you see him acting like an idiot. Did you see him before the game? Did you see him before the game acting like an idiot, trying to start fights with the
I did take him to that. Yeah.
What's he doing? What's wrong with this dude, man? What is wrong with him?
At this juncture of your career, don't bring any attention to yourself besides the performance on the field. That's it. And that's it. And unfortunately, that's not what he's doing. And I can see why he's been moved to different teams at this point. Yeah. But when you get older, it looks worse because your skills, your talent begins to wane. And so when you start being noted for being a malcontent or being a distraction on your team, that doesn't age well. I mean, as I brought up T.O. a while back, T.O. was decent enough, but a lot of teams moved on from him because his antics were a little bit more than what they wanted on the field. And this may be the case with Stephon Diggs, man.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Let's bring up Sonia Pearson from Permanent Popper Sports. I love it. She comes in. She don't care. She's like me. I can take your medicine and that's all there is to it. I mean, both of
Hi,
us.
guys.
Yes, Sonia, the Giants, the Panthers, and the Saints. I mean, we're all gonna have to go out and have a drink and cry in our beer. I guess I don't know, but
I'm definitely game, and I'm not even a drinker, but I'm telling you, I felt like it today, guys. I really did. I was just like, first of all, you know, they always say the good Lord protects you from stuff that you're not supposed to see, babies and fools, I guess. So I guess at this point, it's like your food to keep hope alive. I was actually at an event for a scholarship, and I actually got a scholarship. So I got actually called so I came home, got here, and saw it, and was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Like, and then Jaden Daniels goes out injured, and they still continue to put up points. I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me?"
I know. Believe me, I know how it feels. We haven't even got to your game yet. We're just getting to Detroit at Minnesota. Probably the best game of the week, Sonia. I mean, Goff has 280 yards, 2 touchdowns. Gibbs runs his butt off. Everybody looks like scores for Detroit, but Minnesota gave him a game. I mean, you know, it was a tough game, fought till the end. Last field goal at the end, and now we got 3 teams tied for first. We got Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay who won 2. So I mean, this division is out of sight this year.
Yeah, you know, we all talked about the NFC North even before the season started. So it was no kind of, you know, I hate to use the phrase no brainer, but we knew Detroit was going to be definitely bringing the pain. They wanted to come back. They got so close last year. And to have never gone to the Super Bowl, you know, they literally are playing lights out trying to get back. It's so hard to get back. Dan Campbell said that last year when they were eliminated. And so you go against with the shocking part. I honestly didn't see Minnesota being one of the last remaining and the only NFC undefeated team with freaking Sam Darnold. You know, I always kind of, you know, I have to put this jab in there. Panthers players go to other teams and flourish. It never fails. I mean, and this is the classic example. They were undefeated, hard fight to the very end, but still at the very top of the food chain, as they say. So definitely game of the week, honestly.
Yeah, it was a great game, James. I mean, what did you see there about Minnesota? I mean, Detroit did win at the end, but listen, Minnesota jumped out fast. If their defense could have kind of slowed down a little bit, Detroit, Gibbs had a huge game for him. The second running back, you know, he had the big game this week. But, I mean, Minnesota, I think, is still real good. I still think they could beat a Green Bay or a Detroit under the right circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to Detroit for winning this game, but they eked out a very close win. You looked at the game right before the end, they got a fumble recovery and ran it back for a touchdown. I mean, so that's just how good that defense is, and that's a guy who rarely ever fumbles. So it's just a credit to the defense and to Brian Flores and what he's doing right now. But I'd like to say right now, let's flip it over to Detroit. I thought the biggest thing was to make sure you can get to Jared Goff and rattle him. And I think the hats off to the offensive line with being able to protect him and allowing him, catch this, he has tied a record with Aaron Rodgers, Kurt Warner, and Roger Staubach for having 3 games in a row where he's got 140 or more passer rating. So right now, he's just on point for being like pretty accurate. And he's always been accurate. As long as you give him protection, he won't get rattled. He can't face defense in the middle, that interior defense. And if it gets in his face, he gets shook up. But hats off to them right now for winning that game at the end.
Well, according to Jack Hirsch, he's a good field manager. That's what he is. So, you know, I've been riding Jack all day because of his Mason Rudolph comments earlier. But anyway, the Chiefs did end up winning the game 28-18. Sloppy game. No, you picked the Chiefs. You picked the Chiefs here, Sonia. So you got to win there. But I mean,
hard to beat the Chiefs.
Yes, but listen, the 49ers. Brock Purdy had 3 interceptions. Mahomes had 2 interceptions. It was a real sloppy game. But listen, if you don't put the Chiefs away early, if you don't get a couple touchdowns leads on these guys, if you let them stay around, they're going to start coming on and they're going to beat you in the end. They do it all the time. Defense has played well. But again, the Chiefs are the only undefeated at 6-0, and the 49ers, believe it or not, fall below the Seattle Seahawks in the second place. Unbelievable. What are your thoughts, Sonia? I don't know if you probably didn't see the game.
I did see it. I did. I actually did see it. I was just like, you guys always hear me say I'm sick of Patrick Mahomes. I really wanted the 49ers to win, but it's kind of hard to beat the Chiefs, honestly. I mean, it's just hard to beat them, notwithstanding them being the reigning Super Bowl champs. It's like they almost came into the season like, yeah, we're still the champs. Most of the time when you see teams win the Super Bowl, they don't come back as strong that next season. I mean, you may see glimpses of the championship team, but you don't see them freaking undefeated this far into the season because, they do trades, injuries, things like that. But the Chiefs, I mean, they're literally for real. It's almost like they are the collaboration of Tom Brady all on one team.
Yeah, and we talked about the injuries too to the 49ers. Their wide receivers.
Brandon Ayuk got like a little injury today.
Yeah, and Samuels didn't play because he was sick, and they went with a lot of young receivers. But the defense played well for San Francisco. Listen, both quarterbacks had terrible passer ratings, but the most important stat is the win, right? You're 6-0 and you're pushing on. So there you go. So anyway, the Chiefs do end up beating the 49ers 28-18. So now we get to my team, the New York Giants. Oh my God. I don't even want to talk about this. Saquon Barkley comes back and just shreds us, gets 176 yards in 3 quarters, folks. If he played 4, he probably had 240. He just tore us up. The defensive backs played well. Hurts really didn't throw the ball well. He did get a couple push touchdowns for Jalen Hurts, but it was all Saquon Barkley running the ball, wearing the defense down. I think the Eagles had 8 sacks and the Giants had 6 sacks. So it was a great defensive game for a while, but after the second quarter into the second half, James, it was just all Eagles, man.
Look, you come back, you hear boo birds. I mean, it's all respect. I mean, you can tell. Obviously, they love him, but they're mad he went to the Eagles. But man, he came out and just dominated the game. I mean, it's just once he got that one big run, and then he realized he could run on him. He just didn't stop. And then the other guy got some good yardage as well. And then, of course, the quarterback got some too. I just figured this is what I thought. Coming into this game, a number 6 rushing offense versus a number 24 rushing defense, something had to give, and I think it showed itself with Saquon leading with Saquon Barkley having 17 carries, 176 rushing yards, 10 yards a clip, and he was very classy at the end. He said he loved his place. He loved the teammates. It was all love there. There was no hate there, no ill towards the city. But again, a W is a W, and that's what they wanted. And unfortunately, I just think for New York, not having a good offensive line, and they didn't really give Daniel Jones a lot of time, too. So
listen, Sonia, when you run the ball 6 times the whole game to your main running back, and you expect Daniel Jones to pick apart an Eagle defense that is in his face as soon as he gets the snap, you're not going to win that game. That's crazy.
Yeah, not only are you not going to win that game, but those are predictive plays. Like when you're running stuff like that consistently, like the other side is reading you like a book. There's no surprise. Part of the win is knowing how to surprise your opponent, like trick plays. I often think of Taysom Hill, like his skill set is one of my favorites in the league because you don't know what position he's going to play when he goes out. Is he going to, pass? Is going to be quarterback? Like you just don't know. And so the element of surprise is one that when you're playing teams as offensively powered as the Eagles have been in the past, and then to know that they traded, they have Saquon Barkley, that little rivalry is already there. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder. I mean, it's bad coaching when it comes down to it. Whoever designed those plays back to back like that, that's all on them.
I do blame the head coach for a terrible game plan, especially on the offensive side. So the Eagles go to 4-2, but guess what? They're not in first place because they got a team called the Commanders, who even without Jaden Daniels, and I don't know how bad the injury is, he got taken off the field. He's a little guy, and I've said this before. He's a little guy, and he likes to run the ball for touchdowns, sort of like he's a big guy. He's not. He's got to get out of bounds, and he's normally pretty smart about that. But Marcus Mariota comes in and says, no problem, I'll throw for a couple touchdowns. And again, listen, the Commanders got a great running game. They really do, and their defense is playing really well. Andy Dalton has turned out to what we thought Andy Dalton would be. Couple interceptions. Bryce Young throws for -4, and I don't want to rub it in, Sonia, because I got nothing to say today, but I don't want to rub it in at all. Honestly, I don't. I don't know what their next move is. I mean, do you try to bring Bryce Young back in again? I don't know what you do now. Or you just stick with Andy Dalton?
That's the $1 million question. But to me, in this aspect of everything going on, I just don't even think it's the quarterback that's the issue anymore. I think it's a collection of issues. It's the team as a whole. This is the broken down offense we saw. I mean, I don't know. I guess they were resilient that one time once Andy Dalton came in, they were just like, okay, yeah. And that's it. Like I'm telling you, they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and that's the only win we have. Okay, like nothing else has happened for the Panthers, so it stayed in Vegas. Like I literally just thought about that. Like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Yeah, that win stayed in Vegas, and so did the team that won. Because I don't know what's happening here. I mean, it's embarrassing. 40-7. And I don't even know who scored a touchdown. I didn't even look at that part. But Jaden Daniels got hurt, but he did come back out. I saw him hugging Bryce Young at the end of the game. Literally, I watched the last minute, okay? Because once I saw the score, I was on my way upstairs to look at it, and I saw it go across the screen of another game. I was like, oh, I'm not even wasting steps to go upstairs to watch that. But they were doing victory formation when I got there. And so I guess the game was over so fast. Like it started the same time that Kansas City did. And it was over like 30 minutes early. I'm like, I guess they didn't have anything to question or call. No flags there because the beatdown is so bad. They just ready to hurry and get it over with. Mac, I'm just going to be honest. And I mean, I'm sure that Panthers fans just echo this. I just wish we would just douse everybody and just start from scratch. I'm talking about management down to water boys. And Serper, if he can't get a play, he can go ahead and get up out of there too. Serper may need to get some of his friends to suit up the next game. I don't know, Damian Kaepernick I haven't seen him do anything as of late. And they even, let me tell you, just the desperation we had last year, y'all know, well, year before last, they brought Cam back. So it's just what is this year? 4 or 5 of the losses, and they're getting worse.
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't matter the quarterback. I think if you had a great quarterback in there right now, you might be almost 500, right? I mean, if you had a real good quarterback, maybe 500. It's a team thing. You're right, Sonia. That's exactly what it is right now. And you got the worst. Go ahead, Sonia.
No, got the worst what?
I was going to say you got the worst owner in the league. And you got, and everything flows from the top, right? I mean, it's just like, it's a business. You got a business. If the CEO is bad, it ends up flowing down. I mean, since Daniel Snyder, I can't think of an owner any worse than the owner that you got over there right now. That's
that's the former owner of the Commanders. So yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, our owner throws drinks. If we threw touchdowns like he threw drinks, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I mean, he's tossing drinks and stuff, and it's just not been the same since Jerry Richardson, was forced to sell the team. To be honest with you, that's when it just from the Tepper era is just like you got to have a high temperament to deal with Tepper. That's the way I look at it because it's been a roller coaster, and I don't know. I mean, I tell you guys all the time. I poll my little fan club I have, and I can see the membership, and because Facebook tells you the engagement. Oh, it's way down. It's like 80% less engagement and that's low. That's super, like that's a big drop. We went from like 12,000 members to now 7,500. Like folks are leaving, it's just really difficult to be a fan. And the only good thing is that J Train Saints are only like a game or two ahead of us, so we're still in the runnings for last place.
Yes, you are. So I think that's Bryce Young calling me right now. He's looking to see if he can get a trade to the Giants, but it wouldn't be good there either. So anyway, so we've got, of course, we already talked about the Vegas beating the Rams in a boring game.
Did you guys talk about the Tom Brady hologram with that game?
Well, hologram? No.
Yes.
No,
it was sickening. You guys know he's now part owner of the Raiders. They basically, I just heard the tail end of it. They basically started today's game with a hologram of him.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Tom Brady, as far as an announcer goes, he's gotten a lot better. I'm going to give him some credit here. He's a lot more into the game than he was before. He's kind of putting players down. He's kind of excited about the game, about the hits. He's a lot better. He's a lot more animated than he was in the beginning. So he's getting better there. We'll see how he works out as a Raider owner, part owner. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, they gave him like a whole lot of stipulations about not being at other people's facilities. I mean, some of the rules are for anybody, but with Tom, you got to make sure it's in writing for real. And I will say that he has a new commercial with Fox. I don't know if y'all have seen it, about him basically going down in Fox history as the greatest announcer of all times.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Yeah.
We'll see about
that.
Right. I don't think anybody could beat John Madden, but who knows? You're talking about Dak and Bryce.
Dak gave out a ring because he can't get one, so he got engaged. So he's giving out rings. He just can't get one. No, we don't want Dak.
That's right. Listen, Dak is a lot better than Bryce Young. I'm sorry, dude, but I mean, come on. Let's be honest. So we got the Jets and the Steelers coming up. The biggest news, of course, is Russell Wilson will be starting today. They did make a deal with Hassan Reddick to bring him on board. I don't know if he's playing. He's probably playing tonight. He's probably got to do something or whatever to get back on the team. I'm not sure what that will do. I don't think he's playing tonight. I haven't heard he is. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens if Russell Wilson succeeds or if he fails. Jack talked about relief quarterbacks, and two quarterbacks I know means not any quarterback. And I think if Fields starts, you let him play the game. If Russell Wilson starts, you let him play the whole game, and then you make a decision after that.
I mean, like we talked about earlier, I'm going to stick with my thoughts on that. I think it has to be something that Tomlin is seeing in practice. You let the guy try with the number ones, and I'm pretty sure with Justin Fields, they had a small package for him. They got a small package. They probably can do more with Russell Wilson in the game because the playbook is probably a lot bigger, and they can broaden it with his play. So they're going to see what they can get out of him. But initially, Russell Wilson was the guy to be their quarterback. I saw that initially as well. Justin Fields, you saw what he did in Chicago. Obviously, it's a different team, but I didn't see enough. I didn't see greatness coming out of him to say that, okay, you're going to keep him as a quarterback. I mean, I see somebody just holding the ship just steady until maybe somebody like Russell Wilson come out and do a lot more with that ship.
Well, I'll tell you my thoughts after Sonia gives me hers. I'm not even going to try and sway you, Sonia. What do you think of this?
This is a mess from the beginning. I don't even know why they signed both of them. It was just basically trying to create some type of Steelers drama to keep them relevant. I guess all quarterbacks sometimes show you who they really are, no matter where they go. You kind of see the flashes of who they are. And like you guys both said, you probably saw something at practice, but from the beginning, I can't remember which one of them was signed first. Russell, right? Russell was signed first. That was supposed to have been Russell's team. Justin came in and basically, looked like he took Russell's job. But that situation is not going to last long. You got to remember that Pittsburgh is not really even paying Russell that much. They got him for cheap, like a $2 hoe. And so they got to get some turns out of him while he's up there.
Wow. Wow, if your Sunday teacher heard you say that, she'd slap you silly. Listen, I'm gonna tell you my take on this. We're talking. What did Allen Iverson say? We're talking about practice. Is that what we're talking?
Right.
We're talking about practice. What's his record as a starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers? 4-2, right? Isn't that what his record is? So I mean, I would go with the quarterback that got me to 4-2 until he gets me to 4-4 or 4-5. That only makes sense. And as far as being Russell Wilson's team, listen, it was also Tony Romo's team till Dak Prescott took it over. It was also Drew Bledsoe's team till Tom Brady took it over. That means nothing. It matters who wins in games to me. And right now, under Fields as the quarterback right now, they're 4-2. I think first.
So why bench him? So why bring Russell in then?
Comparisons. I have to disagree with you about those comparisons. Justin Fields had opportunity to play, and you saw what he was before.
No. Hold on. I don't want to Chicago. I want to go to Chicago. He went to Chicago. We went to Chicago already, James. I'm not going back. I am not going back to Chicago. Chicago was a different team, different owner, different GM, different coach, different everything. We're talking. He's on the Steelers now. We're talking right today. I don't.
But it doesn't matter, Mac. Those guys had no experience. You didn't know who Tom Brady was. You didn't know who Dak Prescott was when they came in. Took over.
And guess who else? And guess who else came out of nowhere? The guy you're talking about, Russell Wilson, also won the starting job and became the starting quarterback. I don't care about that. I'm talking about what the Pittsburgh Steelers are right now, James. What place are they in?
Why would they bench him?
They're in first, right?
Yeah.
So why would they bench him then?
Exactly. Because Russell Wilson, it has to be something from upstairs to me, is being told to Tomlin. And that's what I think is happening right now. I think they're telling him upstairs that Justin Fields, that Russell Wilson should start. And that's what I think is going on. And that's my opinion. Because I don't see any other opinion. I don't see anything other.
Just unnecessary drama. Because they're winning it for now, and now they got him in there. Watch it change.
Yeah. Well, it's not just drama on that side. Let's be honest here. It's going to be drama on the Jet side as well. I mean, we got a receiver coming in. You got a quarterback that got his coach fired. So there's drama all over the field here. So it'll be interesting to see how this game goes. I think there are two great defenses. One thing you can say without the drama, two great defenses going against each other. And I don't know. I'm not rooting for Rodgers, but because I just think that he's being a bit of a diva right now. But I do expect them to win this game.
I'll tell you right now, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens tonight with Rodgers, with all the stuff that he's done this year. And he's supposed to be the guy that got him to the Super Bowl last year. Didn't happen. He's supposed to be the guy this year. Now he's got everything he needs, right? He's got all his whole team back. Now Hassan Reddick's coming on board. I mean, the Jets should go to the Super Bowl now, right? I mean, this is what should happen. But right? I mean, this is it. I mean, who else can you get? I mean, who else are you going to get out there? You got one of the premier wide receivers. You've got a wide receiver that played with you with the Packers.
Gardner, yeah,
right?
all that.
You got two running backs that are above average, right? And I mean, what else? You got a defense that's top three. There's no reason that the Jets
there should be no excuse right now. Not at all.
What's the status on Miles Williams? Is he playing tonight or is he calling out again?
Who?
That's the one that Aaron Rodgers threw under the bus. Is he playing tonight or are they calling out again? They say he didn't practice today.
They're trying to get rid of him. They're trying to get rid of him.
I told you guys that's the word out there. They said he's Adam Schefter, and when it comes from Shefty, it's pretty much guaranteed.
Yes. After they picked up and Wilson, as we said a couple of weeks ago, that was his favorite receiver. So I mean, now since his buddy's there, it's going to be interesting. I mean, if the Jets lose tonight, I don't know what the Jet fans will say now. I have no idea what they'll talk about. So anyway, any other news that you got as far as your Saints go? Is there anything that we can look forward from the New Orleans Saints in their next game here, James?
Brown bags, brown paper bags.
That's not even funny. That's not even
That's about it, man. All the injuries. I mean, again, 42% injury rate. That's leading the league. That's just, you can't overcome that. I mean, you got guys like Rasheed. I mean, to key players, Paulson Adebo, femur broken, out for the season. Rashid Shaheed, knee surgery. The guys that take the top off the defense, out for the season. Olave, I think he's going to be coming back at some point. He had a concussion, but Taysom Hill out. He's not out for the season, but he's been out. Derek Carr out. I mean, it's just
think about it, James. You got the Chargers, which might be a loss for you, but then you play the Panthers, you play the Falcons, you play the Browns.
That's right. So get ready to take this L. Retribution is coming.
Girl, stop.
Retribution is coming.
I'm just saying. I mean, listen, 3 out of the next 4 games, you got a shot. How you doing, Craig? Glad to have you. That's my buddy Craig Wright, who's a big Detroit fan. Now in
first. Yeah, he owns the restaurant, right?
Yeah,
he's the chef.
Yes, he is a chef.
All right, Craig. Let's not go overboard. They didn't kick tail. They won by like a squeaker there, but they are the best team.
They're
win is a win. Yes.
Yes. We're not going to talk about the Tigers or the Pistons. We'll stick with the Lions, Greg. We're not going to talk about them. It's an NFL show anyway. But I am very impressed with the Lions, Greg, and I think they have a real good shot this year. I mean, if you look at it right now, you got 3 teams tied right now in the NFC North. Commanders have 1 loss also, so they're tied with them. And then over in the South right now, Seattle's in first place. Surprise, surprise. Dallas is 3-3. They didn't look good at all. So I mean, what do you think? Is it Tampa Bay, Seattle Seahawks, Philadelphia Eagles, and what? 3 teams from the NFC North? Is that what we're?
NFC South. The NFC collectively has so many teams that are bad right now. I wouldn't be surprised if 4 teams come out of the NFC North and make the playoffs.
Well, I want to make an announcement real quick, Mac. Okay. I just had an epiphany, and I'm going to make it on here so you guys will just know. I have officially adopted a team for the season, and the team, so I can be happy with the season and, not just frustrated. So the Panthers are still my team, but they've now moved to the trunk of the car. Forget the back seat; they're in the trunk. Right. They're hanging onto the bumper of the car. Because this team also is a feline, and the Panthers are felines. I am going to be adopting the Detroit Lions this season.
Okay. Wow. I thought you were going to say the Jacksonville Jags. No, okay.
No, sir. Not with Trevor Lawrence Targaryen from House of Dragons or Game of Thrones. No, sir. Not Barbie. Not Barbie.
We talked about it a little bit. We talked about it a little bit today. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe they get a rolling. You never know. I mean, the Jags looked good against the Patriots, right? Worst team in the league.
The Lions are indeed probably the pride of the no pun intended, the pride of the NFC.
Greg says you can jump out of the bandwagon there.
Thank you, Craig. I am officially on and riding with you guys. Thank you.
Worst team in the NFL right now. Patriots, Panthers, Giants. I'm trying to think of any other ones there. The Titans.
What was the first team you said?
Patriots. Panthers,
oh, yeah. Garbage.
Panthers, Patriots, Titans.
Garbage.
Giants. Who do you got for the Bulls? Who you
got all for the garbage except for the Panthers.
Who's your worst team, James? Who's the worst team right now in the NFL?
It's got to be the Panthers. I mean, come on.
Why you guys get me on the show just to say some mess like that?
I mean, he asked. I you want me to be honest? I mean,
no, he blended his team in there so it didn't sound bad. But they got more wins than we did.
I mean, I'm not just saying because of the team, and I'm thinking because of the ownership mostly. But yeah, that's not right.
Be honest, Sonia. It probably comes down to the Patriots and the Panthers, I would think.
How many games have the Patriots won?
I would think.
Oh, they only won 1, 2?
I think so.
2 or 1? 1.
I think it's 1.
I think so.
It might be a tie. I'll go ahead, You guys are not going to be able to be happily ending the show without me saying it. How many games have the Giants won?
2, I think, right?
2.
I think the Giants are, okay? Let me just tell you the reason why. Their fan base is insufferable. They
That's okay.
consistently lost every season.
I'll take it. That's
It's the Panthers, guys. Seriously, all jokes aside, it's the Panthers. Like, we feel that way as fans, and it's bad. Like, I think we're worse than the Patriots. At least the Patriots, I don't know. It's just different. They're different. They won more than 2 games last year, I think. So,
yeah,
we have a collective win of 3 wins in the last year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's tough. The Bears will be back on top soon. The Bears are right there. I don't know. They only got 2 losses. The Bears will be back on top. They're knocking on the door. They're knocking on the door there, Davian. I mean, listen.
Okay.
I don't know. He's talking about something else.
He's drinking.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us. Tony, thanks for stopping in. James, again, thanks for being here. NFL Download every Sunday, 7 p.m. We get you updated on all the games. Start previewing the Sunday night's game. And thank you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Have a good one. What? Go ahead, James.
Before you do that, you want to go over the fantasy numbers?
The fantasy for what?
For us versus
you gotta have it for the NFL show, James.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, go over them first right now. We'll do it again Sunday.
All right, cool. So right now we are losing, and we're losing heavily. We are total for week 6. We have 611 points, 74 points, fantasy points. And the top 100, the NFL has 770 even.
How are we doing so bad?
I got a fantasy too, guys. I could add my numbers in there.
We had a good week last week. What's going on, man?
We did, man. But I mean, their running backs and their quarterbacks seem to be killing us, and that's just how it goes, man. We Derrick Henry is.
We had Mahomes today, so we're not going to be doing that good next week. I mean, Mahomes.
We never do well with him.
Oh my God. Oh my God! Could he get just hurt for a little bit so we can put it on?
Right?
Just for a game.
Let him have diarrhea for a couple of games.
Diarrhea. We don't want him to get hurt.
No, we don't want him to get hurt. We don't want to get hurt. Again, thanks, folks. See you tomorrow on Mac and Jack. Also on the Big Blue Blues Brothers show, where we'll sit there and we'll tell you how bad the Giants are. It's a fun show. Be there for that too. Have a great one and enjoy the Jets in Pittsburgh.